about this topic. The time was so limited, so we spent a lot of time for introduction. However, during the details in the presentation, we go through it very quickly. So today we are going to explain about depth of Sikhatama in more details in in the part that has a lot of details. Today we will go through the introduction quickly, and we can spend the time in the later part that we intend to give it to you. So before we begin the class, we need to mention about the important notes that we always mention in every classes, that Dhamma provided in this presentation is simple and not Kampira or profound. People must continuously study Dhamma, or else it will lead to Mahatapa, Niraya, or hell, because it is Miccha not following the Buddha's teaching. If any provided content contrast with Dhamma 84,000 Dhammakantaka, please refer to Dhamma 84,000 Dhammakantaka only. And what day is today? Today is 5th Kalapakhatsa, Tutiya Salaha Masatsa, Mahaputtha Shayanti 2612, or August 5th, Buddhist era 2566.
Okay, so we pay respect to our Paramatha. Yo wo anantamaya thammo javinayo jate sito panyato sovo mama jayena sattha. Yo wo anantamaya thammo javinayo jate sito panyato sovo mama jayena sattha. Yo wo anantamaya thammo javinayo Jate sito panyato sovo mama jayena sattha. Vi sati ariya makha, vi sati samanyaภาระ เอกนิพพานะขิปปาพิญญาโดยเฉียบพลันในประวัติการนี้เถิดสาธุสาธุสาธุนวุติอุปนิธิพันธะอนุโมทามิ
The translation for Yovo Ananta Maya Tamo Ja Vinayo Ja Tesito Panyato Sovo Mama Jayena Sattha translate into English that Ananta, Tama and Vinaya will be your teacher when Anuttara Samma Sampodhi enters Parinibbana. That's why we need to Sikha Dhamma or study Dhamma that we are doing today. The responsibility of the full Buddha Parisa consisting of three responsibility. The first one is the full Buddha Parisa must well understand the Tipitaka, 84,000 Dhammakantaka. And the second one is the full Buddha Parisa must be able to correctly present 84,000 Dhammakantaka. And the last one, the full Buddha Parisa must be able to correct those who condemn or misunderstand the Tipitaka, 84,000 Dhammakantaka.
Now, we pay respect to our Dhammajariya Suchatnak on and Tan Angka Kuna Ariya Dhamma Sotapanna, who is the first that bring Dhamma to our group and that make us to teaching today. Okay, Vi Sati Ariya Makha, Vi Sati Samanya Phara,เอกนิพพานะขิปปาพิญญาโดยเฉียบพลันในประวัติการนี้เถิดสาธุสาธุสาธุนวุติอุปนิธิพันธะอนุโมทามิน้องกัน before we go to other page, can you go back to the date that you call what is this date this month you call
the date and the month. We need to we, as you see, we use in different format. The first one we use in like when the Buddha's the Gautama Buddha was alive. We count it's lunar based calendar. So the important of lunar based calendar or this date that we need to mention is that to remind Sattva in 31 Bhumi that once once entered the Mahaputta Shayanti 5,000 years, that will be another one last time that the relics of Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi that all that stays within all 31 bhumi will be formed in the body of Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi once again, and Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi will teach or Tesana Abhidhamma once again, and this time will be the last time for Buddhism under the enlightenment of Gautama Samma Sambuddhiputtha. Okay, so that's the important why we need to mention the date every time that we Sikhatama, or every day pass we need to mention in the form that was used when Buddha was alive. However, the calendar that we are using today is based on solar calendar or Gregorian calendar that comes from Christian one, so it's different one. We are Buddhism, that's why we need to refer back to the calendar system that Buddha was using at that time when Buddha was alive.
Why you use Tutiya in this month?
Today, this year is the special year that will have Asalaha Masasa twice. The first one we call Asalaha Masasa. This one, the second of Asalaha Masasa, we call Tutiya Salaha Masasa. That's why this year is a special year. For example, okay. like 28th of February, 24th, I can't remember, 28th, right?
20, yes,
right?
yes.
That will have 28
4
of
year have one time.
4 year. Yes.
Yeah. So it means that we should go to get in Vassa, no? Since last month.
The first of Asalaha. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You should enter.
And if that year have Tutiya Asalaha Masasa, so we have to jump Vassa for 4 months, live in Vassa for 4 months, not only 3 months.
Yes, Sadhu.
Yes.
So that's why this year is a special one. You need to spend 4 months for one Vassa.
How can we use the second Tutiya Asalaha Masasa to be in Vassa?
No, you need to enter.
Yeah. We have to use 4 months for living in Vassa, no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we can get more kusala at that time. Okay. Sadhu ka.
So before we go through the depth of Sikhatama, we need to classify people. What type of people that can enter the depth of Sikhatama or have a chance to Sikhatama. So Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi divided Manusa into 4 types: Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano, and Manusa Tevo. And for those first 3 types of Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano, they spend their daily activities under Sanya 3 or Kama Sanya, Khojara Sanya, Morana Sanya. Like we are eating, we working, we sleeping, we cook for our family, we traveling. These kind of activities are under Sanya 3, which called Kama Sanya, Khojara Sanya, Morana Sanya. And those Sanya are under influence of Akusala Chitta 12. So once they are under Akusala Chitta 12, under influence of Akusala Chitta 12, they create your emotion that varies within the day. For example, like you might feel happy, indifferent, sad, dissatisfied, angry, hate, envy, etc. things like this. But those feelings that occur within a day, they are created by the influence of Akusala Chitta 12. That's why you see a lot of argument. People can have a happy time, but very short, and then following with indifference, sad, dissatisfied, angry, hate, etc. That you can see people act like this within a day, every day. And there are one special type that Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi said that this one is a special type of Manusa called Manusa Tevo. For Manusa Tevo, they have different, they have one special sanya or that activities under Dhamma. We call this special sanya as Dhamma sanya. This sanya under influence of Kusala Chitta. And by having Dhamma sanya, it needs to follow the teaching of Gotama Buddha. Otherwise, you cannot perform Dhamma sanya. You cannot think it by yourself. And when you think it by yourself, not refer back to the teaching of Gotama Buddha, that you end up with Kama Sanya, Gochara Sanya, Mora Sanya, and those activities are under influence of Kusala Chitta 12, and that leads to Abhaya Bhumi 4. Okay. And for Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano, one they are when we want to transform from Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano into Manusa Tevo, we need, the only way is to Sikha Dhamma. Sikha Dhamma is the study the correct teaching of Gotama Buddha or Paramattha Dhamma. That is the only way. And to begin understand Dhamma or Sikha Dhamma, you need a first step is very crucial one is to recite Citta 121, Cetasika 52, and Rupa 28, that we emphasize that this part is essential for Dhamma study or Sikha Dhamma. Otherwise, you will not have a chance to understand what Gotama Buddha teach. Okay. That's why we mentioned about the step to Sikha Dhamma, that first to recite Citta 121, Cetasika 52, and Rupa 28. And the second one is to be able to differentiate communication language and Dhamma language. We go through this quickly. And Citta Cetasika create Rupa, as you have already known that this one speak in general, very big picture. Or for you to imagine that everything that happens around us and even our body, that we are the result of Citta interact with Cetasika and create Rupa, and Rupa forming our body and our environment and everything that we use today, including our food and our clothes and our house, things like that. And Citta 121, you have already familiar with it. Kama Vajra Citta 54, Rupa Vajra Citta 15, Arupa Vajra Citta 12, and Lokutara Citta 40, for example. Cetasika 52, Anyasmana Cetasika 13, Akusala Cetasika 14, and Sopana Cetasika 25. And Rupa 28 comes from Mahabhuta Rupa 4 and Upataya Rupa 24. Now, we need to identify communication language and Dhamma language. This one we go through it quickly. As we mentioned, communication language, you need to translate it back into Makatha language. And from Makatha language, refer to the teaching of Gotama Buddha, then you will get Dhamma language. However, most of people doing it different way. Instead of translate their communication language into Makatha language and refer to the Gotama Buddha teaching, and then enters Dhamma language, they do it differently. So they look in the teaching of Gotama Buddha, and then they translate into Makatha language, use Makatha language dictionary and translate back into their communication language. And after that, they try to understand by using that knowledge and that knowledge within their society. That's why it's completely different direction than we mentioned here. To Sikha Dhamma, you need to translate from your communication language into Makatha language, and Makatha language refer to the teaching of Gotama Buddha, and then you will enter the first step of Dhamma language. for example, like this one. And for Dhamma study, for people who translate back, instead of doing this direction, they do reverse it. They translate from Makata language back into their communication language. The diagram that will happen, it happened this way. When we born, we learn our communication language. We use our communication language to study the knowledge that exists in our society. And then we use our knowledge as a basis for Dhamma study. That's why we translate Makata language back into our communication language, and we use our knowledge that exists in that society to try to understand Dhamma. And then that's why it completely different direction. They use their knowledge, translate Makata language back into their communication language, and use their knowledge to try to understand Dhamma. That's why we mentioned that it's completely different direction. Instead of translate communication language into Makata language and refer to the teaching of Gautama Buddha and enter Dhamma language, this is the correct direction. However, most of the people, they translate Makata language back to their communication language. That's why this diagram happened. And then people, by doing so, it's completely opposite direction that they should do. That's why most of the people hardly understand what Gautama Buddha really teach. And then the correct one, as we mentioned, when we born, we know our communication language. We has been teaching since we was a baby, and then we use our communication language to learn the knowledge that exists in our society. For example, like biology, math, science, management, etc. And then before we use our knowledge to study Dhamma, then we go back to the basis. We give up everything that we know. We clear everything. We leave our knowledge, including our communication language, aside, and start from scratch again. So start from scratch. That for Dhamma language, to understand Dhamma, that's why we start from the alphabet. For example, like if we comparing Sikhatama as learning new language, we need to recite the alphabet first, and the alphabet of Dhamma language is Chitta 121, Cetasika 52, and Rupa 28. That's why we need to re-educate ourselves about the language. So we go back to recite the alphabet, which is Chitta 121, Cetasika 52, and Rupa 28. By doing so, we leave our knowledge and our communication language aside. And then by doing so, when we use Chitta, Cetasika, Rupa as basis, and then we use Chitta, Cetasika, Rupa and try to understand Dhamma language, that's why Dhamma language starts to explain everything that happened with our communication language and including our knowledge in society. But this diagram is completely different from the previous one. The previous one, I show that you based on your knowledge, your communication language, which are developed by Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano. And these three Manusa are based on Akusala Chitta 12. That's why you cannot create Kusala out from the roots that under influence of Akusala Chitta 12. And then, but this one is completely different. You start from the roots communication language, which are our own roots, our Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano, and these three Manusa are under influence of Kusala Chitta 12. And then I said that we leave our knowledge and our communication language aside. So that's when we leave our Kusala Chitta 12 aside, and we start from Chitta 121, Cetasika 52, and Rupa 28. When we start from this, Chitta 121, Cetasika 52, and Rupa 28, we compare it like an alphabet in Dhamma language. However, this alphabet comes from the enlightenment of Gautama Buddha. And for the enlightenment of Gautama Buddha, at least Mahapodhisattva needs to spend 20 asankhaya and 100,000 kappa to gain this knowledge about the Chitta 121, Cetasika 52, and Rupa 28. If I mention in very simple one, now we have Anuttara Samma Sampodhi as our basis, our base. Then Kusala is base here. And then we use base, which is Kusala 1, to try to understand Akusala 1 that belongs to us, and our knowledge that also Akusala. So the roots of this diagram is Kusala 1. So Kusala can understand and control Akusala, and can understand and control Akusala here. And then by having Kusala as the roots of this tree or this diagram, that is the only way that can lead to Nivarna. That why these two diagram is different. This diagram is based on our knowledge, our communication language, and we are Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano, which are under influence of Akusala Chitta 12. That's why this, if I comparing this diagram as a tree, you have roots as Akusala Chitta 12. When you have roots as Akusala Chitta 12, you cannot have fruits that become Kusala 1. It's impossible. The fruits of this tree needs to be Akusala also. But this one, the roots is different. The roots comes from the enlightenment of Gotama Buddha, which is the Kusala 1. That's why this diagram can lead you to Nivarna, because the basis is the enlightenment of Gotama Buddha and the Kusala 1. This is the difference of the using a different direction instead of using the correct direction. Translate from your communication language into Makata language and refer to the teaching of Gotama Buddha and enters Dhamma language. This is this diagram. And if you do in reverse, you you use Dhamma language that exists in Tipitaka, and then you use it as Makata language and translate back into your communication language. This diagram will happen. That's why people hardly understand what Gotama Buddha really teach.
Okay. How can we change from Makata language to Dhamma language?
For Makata language, Dhamma language, for this one, good question, Piping. So we refer to the teaching of Gotama Buddha, and the teaching of Gotama Buddha now exists in Tipitaka, right? Suttanta, Abhidhamma, and Vinaya. Vinaya, Suttanta, and Abhidhamma. Vinaya 21,000 Dhammakantaka, Suttanta 21,000 Dhammakantaka, and Abhidhamma 42,000 Dhammakantaka. You refer back into that is the teaching of Gotama Buddha. And as we mentioned in the beginning of every class, that Dhamma of Anuttara Samma Sampodhi is very profound or Kampira. That's why we need to go try to understand it a bit by bit. So it takes time. And every Dhamma that we explain in every class is not yet going to that Kampira level. But even though we need to go back into more simplified one to explain to the people who try to understand what Gotama Buddha really teach. That's why we usually mention that in every class, and everything that we explain here is not yet Kampira or not yet Paramattha Dhamma, but it's a simplified form for the beginners to be able to follow what we are going to giving this kind of knowledge to them next. Because if we go into very profound one, it's almost impossible for beginners to understand. It's completely changed the perspective of the way you see this world. Is completely different, and you cannot you cannot understand the teaching of Gotama Buddha by the logic that you have been using in your society. That's impossible to use your logic to understand the teaching of Gotama Buddha. If you try to use your logic and your knowledge to understand Dhamma, it happened this way. it happened within this diagram. So you use your cause and effects, the way you think cause and effects in your society and the things that you have been teaching since you was a kid. Then if you're not leaving those knowledge aside, you'll end up in this diagram.
You mean that we start with akusala 12 and we end up with akusala 12 too.
Correct. For example, like us, we are Thai people. Our communication language is Thai, right?
Yeah.
Piping and I graduated as an engineer, and also later on, I'm also a programmer and also management and also property evaluation, property evaluation and property management, something like that. For example, etc. like this. If I'm not leaving my knowledge, all of my knowledge aside, and trying to use those knowledge to understand Dhamma, by doing so, I translate Dhamma back to my communication language and use all of my knowledge as an engineer, as a programmer, as a property management, as a management, things like that, to try to understand Dhamma, that I will end up in this diagram. And it's impossible for me to go through and it's impossible for me to understand Dhamma, what Dhamma that Gautama Buddha teach, because I still have a basis as Akusala Citta 12, because it's my communication language and my knowledge. And I am Anutsa, Nirayo, Manusate Meto, and Manusati Rachanam. To study Dhamma, that's why we need to give up all our knowledge and our communication language. We leave those knowledge aside. We start from scratch as we were a baby again. And then we start to recite Citta 121 Cetasika, 52 Rupa, 28 as the first alphabet. And then we Sikha Dhamma and study more details about Dhamma. And then Dhamma will explain your communication language. For this case, explain what happened to Thai language. How can they become Thai language? And then Dhamma will explain our knowledge that we have. For example, for me, like engineer, like programmer, like property management, like management, property evaluation, things like that will be explained by Dhamma. And beyond that, we'll know how communication language work and how our knowledge work under Dhamma explanation. And then we use Dhamma language for Dhamma study, and that is the only way to go through Nibbana. Because as I comparing this diagram as a tree, we have roots, which is now the roots is come from Kusala, come from the enlightenment of Gautama Buddha, instead of from Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachana, because they are the one who developed communication language. But
You mean that although Makatha language is world language, no communication language, but when Paramatha Anuttara Samma Sampoti borrow Makatha language in Tipitaka, then Tipitaka have Samanta Chakku, then that language become Dhamma language.
correct, happy being. That's why we need to use the enlightenment of Gautama Buddha as a basis of everything.
Okay.
And we give up our communication language, give up our knowledge, set it aside, and then start from scratch.
Although we cannot understand Makatha language well, because it is not our language, but in the Makatha language have Samanta Chakku. So in the Tipitaka have Samanta Chakku. That means that you have Paramatha still.
Yes, but for more simplified one,
Yeah.
When we born as a baby,
Yeah.
we don't even know a language at all, right?
Right.
We don't even know our communication language. For example, we are Thai. We are not even know Thai language, but we born in Thailand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a baby, we are able to learn that language by ourselves with help of people teaching us. And this is the same. We start from scratch. We became a baby again. We know nothing about Dhamma, and people trying to help you, to teach you the language, the new language to you. This is why we need to mention about the beginners, that you need to recite Citta 121, Cetasika 52, and Rupa 28, and you can speak the same language with us. And when you speak the same language with us, we can transfer our knowledge, which belongs to Anuttara Samma Sambodhi, to you. And then you will understand how the way things in this world and in 31 Bhumi works, and how, when you know how they works, and then you also know how to end it by following the good Gautama Buddha teaching. That is the only way. So the important one is to set your knowledge and communication language aside. However, the people that can do it this way can do it as we said, can follow this diagram, can follow this diagram and set their knowledge and communication language aside and start to recite Citta, Cetasika, and Rupa. There is the only one type of people can do this, which is Manusa Tevu, right? Manusa Tevu. And however, when everyone, we born as Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirashano. So for easy understanding, every Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirashano, of course, they are living under influence of Kusala Citta 12. But within these people, there are some of them, like actually a few of them, have kusala within them, have kusala within them, and that kusala will lead them to find the correct teaching of Gautama Buddha. And once they found it, Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirashano, once they found it, kusala that hidden within themselves will come up and let them think that they need to recite Citta, Cetasika, and Rupa. Otherwise, without kusala within themselves, then there's no chance for Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirashano to become Manusa Tevo, because they will think that Dhamma is not needed, it's not necessary for their life. They need to work, they need to study, they need to feed their family, they need to travel, they need to enjoy the life without Sikha Dhamma, because they will think that Dhamma is not necessary for them. And that is the way of Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, and Manusa Tirashano, who don't have kusala hidden within them. Think.
There are many Dhamma in the world. How can you know that this is Dhamma that leads to Nirvana?
This one also a good question, Viping. Actually, well, the things to identify, you can use this true diagram. And use this true diagram that things that seems to be the correct Dhamma, that one is translated back in their communication language, or go from their communication language into Dhamma language. This is first direction. And the second one is try to evaluate yourself, not about others. When you have the correct Dhamma, you can control and you can improve yourself gradually, and obviously you can evaluate yourself that you will less angry, you will understand things much more
Faster.
Yes, understanding faster, see things as the way it is, but within by according to the teaching of Gautama Buddha, there are a lot of details. So actually the main one is to following this direction, to go from communication language into Makatha language and to Dhamma language. Whenever you see the translation that can be the obvious one, that one is the incorrect one. That peeping again back to Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano here.
Yep.
People think that they can control their mind. However, Gautama Buddha said, your mind is the result of interaction of Citta and Cetasika. So by being able to think that you will Sikhatama or you will recite Citta, Cetasika, and Rupa, those kind of thinking, or those are the results of interaction of Citta, Cetasika. So that's why I mentioned that Manusa Nirayo, be born as Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano. However, only a few of them have Kusala hidden within them. Whenever they found the correct Dhamma, those Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano, a few of them which contain Kusala within them, Kusala will come up and make them think that they need to Sikha Dhamma, and make them think that they need to recite Citta, Cetasika, and Rupa. This is another step. It's not only convince people to recite Citta, Cetasika, Rupa. However, in the way that Anuttara Samma Sambuddha explained, the way you think has already been the result of Citta, Cetasika. So that's why you need to have Kusala from your previous life. This one is not your first. When you be able to recite Citta, Cetasika, Rupa, this one is not your first. Your first time, your first life to Sikha Dhamma. You must have Kusala from your past life. Otherwise, it's impossible for you to Sikha Dhamma. A bit hard to understand, maybe.
Yes, it's really hard to understand. So,
Right.
in summary, can you put in summary that to be the right Dhamma will make us less angry, less sad, or something like that. You will be still have sad, still have angry, but it can very fast to pass that time of that period of sad and that period of angry.
Yes.
By sometimes you can recite, when you angry, you can recite Tosa, Tomanasa Sahakatang, Patikha Sampayutang, Asankarikang, Kamawachala, Akusala, Tosa Murajitang, and then you can pass it more easier than other people that did not recite it.
Yes, sadhu,
Okay.
That is the way that Dhamma of Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi can help you whenever you feel unhappy, feel angry, feel like that. And whenever you Sikha Dhamma, your improvement, you can evaluate yourself that by the time passed, you're angry, you're less angry, and even you're angry, the time that you're angry will be shortened. However,
if you still angry again and again, it means that you still not receive Sikhaya too much. So you have to more Sikhaya.
Well, you can compare as you take a medicine. you need to take it continuously. The more effects is the more how much you take the medicine. The more you take, the more you improve. The more consistency, the more you improve. So that's why it needs time.
Okay, so continuous Sikhaya is the way to go to Nivarana.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sadhu ka.
So we go through this quickly as we try, as we mentioned. So the way that Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano, they think, they use their communication language to Sikha Dhamma. For Manusa Tevo, they use Dhamma language, which is based on the enlightenment of Gautama Buddha. to Sikhatama. That's why this is the way of the thinking model different. The language, as we mentioned, Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano has their communication language, depends on their nations. And for Manusa Tewu, they have a Tama language. And wherever we are in this world, whatever communication language that we are using, when we Sikhatama, we use the same language, which is Tama language. That's why in 31 Bhumi, actually, in 31 Bhumi speaks Tama language, and there will be the same language across 31 Bhumi, not only across every nation in this world. And to speak Tama language, you need to be Manusa Tewu, and to be Manusa Tewu, you need to Sikhatama, and to be able to Sikhatama, you need Kusala that from your past life. Otherwise, it's impossible for you to Sikhatama. For your daily activities, for Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano, they have daily activities as we mentioned. They sleep, take a shower, eat, travel, chat with friends, having family, things like that. And Manusa Tewu, we have an opportunity to Sikhatama. That is one different activities. And only Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano that have Kusala within them will have a chance to perform Sikhatama. Otherwise, it's impossible. Because as we mentioned, your mind, the way that you think is the result of Chitta interact with Cetasika. In our everyday life, in our society, people said that you can control your life. You think before you act. However, in Dhamma, Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi also mentioned that before you think, Cetasika work. And the result of Chitta and Cetasika interact together, then create you think, the way you think, and the way you think control your act. So in the end, that you cannot control the way you think, but to control the way you think, that's why you need Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi Dhamma to enter your Chitta and Cetasika and control them before they interact together. That is the way to control them. That's why Piping said that when you Sikhatama, the result you see from you have less angry, and when you're angry, you stop your angriness quicker, because by controlling Chitta and Cetasika, and then the result is sent to your mind, you have less angry. And even though you're angry, the time that you're angry will be shortened because of the Chitta and Cetasika has already been controlled by the teaching of Gautama Buddha, for example, like that. And the knowledge, Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano have that knowledge in that society, as we mentioned. And for Manusa Tewu have special knowledge which is Dhamma, that enlightened. And that is the enlightenment of Gautama Buddha. And then cause and effects, as we mentioned before, that Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano things try to relate what they see, what they can experiment as cause and effects. However, Manusa Tewu, once they understand the teaching of Gautama Buddha, things that people are trying to trying to make a relationship between cause and effects, those are effects, not really the cause. The cause is the work of Chitta Cetasika, and to control and to improve the work of Chitta and Cetasika is the only way that to Sikhatama. And to Sikhatama need Kusala. And for Kusala, if Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano don't have Kusala from their previous life within them, they cannot Sikhaya, because those Kusala also control the way they think, so they not let them think that they need to Sikhatama.
Thinking is Chitta or thinking is Rupa?
Well, for beginner, I would say that it's a form of Chitta.
For only beginner, no?
Yes, for beginner. Yes, and as we mentioned, Dhamma is very profound, very complete. So we try to simplify things for beginners to be able to follow the way we will explain later on. But for now, it's some kind like citta. Okay, an occurrence of things. Science knows about the universe, but Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi knows beyond that. What creates universe will be explained by Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi and 5 senses. Okay, and the feelings. In the end, Manusa Tevo we have happily and calm and knows everything, so they can enter Nibbana in the end. For example, that we're trying to explain, which is the eyes. The eyes that for Manusa Nirayo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tereshano, they knows exactly what the science said. However, for Manusa Tevo, they also know beyond that. For first step to enter the knowledge that Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi teach us, we need to translate from our language into Dhamma language. As we mentioned, we need to translate our communication language to Makatha language, and Makatha language refer to the enlightenment of Gautama Buddha, and then enter Dhamma language. For this example, we give an example as eyes. Eyes is English communication language. It translate to Makatha language, which is Jakku, and then from Makatha language, which called Jakku, then now we are going to refer to the teaching of Gautama Buddha and try to understand what Dhamma language explain about Jakku. Here, as we the first step, from your communication language, translate to Makatha language, and from Makatha language we refer to the teaching of Gautama Buddha. And for Jakku, when you recite Rupa 28, you know that Jakku is in one of Jakku Pasatrupa, in Pasatrupa 5, with is Jakku Pasatrupa, Sota Pasatrupa, Kana Pasatrupa, Shuha Pasatrupa, Kaya Pasatrupa. When you able to recite Rupa 28, you can identify that the word Jakku you will found in Pasatrupa 5. And within Pasatrupa 5, you need to know how they create and how they interact with everything that create around us. Because Pasatrupa 1, Jakku Pasatrupa, which is one of Pasatrupa 5, exists in Rupa 28, and Rupa 28 are the basis that create everything in the world that we staying today. Where are they? We need to know more in details that Jakku are one of within Rupa 28, and where are they exist, and what are the results that they are create around ourselves. This is more complex. It's not the eyes, not only the eyes. And for more than that, we go through before I go that okay. Before you born in every Bhumi, they need to provide you Kamashrupa to create your body in every Bhumi. When we born as a human, they also need to create your Kamashrupa 18 as a human. Kamashrupa 18 consisting of Patwi Mahaputarupa 1, Apo Mahaputarupa 1, Tesho Mahaputarupa 1, Vayo Mahaputarupa 1, Rupa Visaya Rupa 1, Kanta Visaya Rupa 1, Rasa Visaya Rupa 1, Ahara Rupa 1, and Parisheta Rupa 1. These 9 first we call yes, but these 9 components exist in not only in Kamashrupa, but they will exist in Chittashrupa, Uttushrupa, and Harashrupa. However, the 9, these in red and red component. There's also 9 components that we call in genuine Kamashrupa. They exist only in Kamashrupa, which called Pasatrupa 5, Pavarupa 2, Hatiyarupa 1, Jivitarupa 1. As we mentioned before, that we are talking about Jakku. And Jakku, if you can recite Rupa 28, you can find that the word Jakku exists in under Pasatrupa 5, which is Jakku Pasatrupa. And Jakku Pasatrupa exists within here in Kamashrupa 18. And then whenever Kamashrupa 18 exists, there will be a Kamashrupa 10. Rupa altogether, all the time they combine it together must be 28. So when 18 out of 28 become Kamashrupa, the rest 10 become Akamashrupa. And Akamashrupa consisting of Sattva Visaya Rupa 1, Vinyati Rupa 2, which are Kaya Vinyati Rupa, Vaci Vinyati Rupa, Vikara Rupa 3, Rupa Sa Lokuta, Rupa Sa Mututa, and Rupa Sa Kamanyata, Lakkhana Rupa 4, Rupa Sa Santati, Rupa Sa Churata, Rupa Sa Anichata, Lakkhana Rupa 4, Rupa Sa Uttapo, Rupa Sa Santati, Rupa Sa Churata, Rupa Sa Anichata. And these are Kamashrupa 10. And one more thing that we need to mention, that Kamashrupa create from the past, and they has already created from the past, and that's it. However, for Kamashrupa 10, they also create from the past, but they are to be used in the present. That is the difference between Kamashrupa 18 and Akamashrupa 10. Kamashrupa 18 create from the past, and then that's it. They don't create anything at all. They stop there. However, Akamashrupa, they also create from the past, but they are to be used in the present. That is the difference between Kamashrupa and Akamashrupa. And I need to mention again that Jakku exists in here. Jakku Pasatrupa, one of 5 under Pasatrupa 5. And when I expand Akamashrupa into 3 groups that I mentioned before, it becomes Citta Shupa, Utu Shupa, and Ahara Shupa. Akamashrupa exists in Citta Shupa, Utu Shupa, and Ahara Shupa. Kamashrupa 18, they're created from the past, and that's it. And Kamashrupa, as we mentioned there, that they are created from the past, that however, they are to be used in present. So there are Vinyati Rupa 2, Sattva Rupa 1, Vikara Rupa 3 that exist within Citta Shupa, Utu Shupa, Ahara Shupa, and you see that Vinyati Rupa 2 exists only under Citta Shupa 15. We call it genuine Citta Shupa, Vinyati Rupa 2. Kaya Vinyati Rupa, Vaci Vinyati Rupa. Go through this quickly, and a bit confused because you need to be able to recite them. That's what we mentioned in the first of the class, that when we Sikha Dhamma, we need to speak the same language. And this language use Citta 121, Cetasika 52, and Rupa 28 as our alphabet. And now we are going to talk in Dhamma language, talk by using Dhamma language. That's why you can see that everything we mentioned here, relate back to Citta 121, Cetasika 52, or Rupa 28. And in this case, we refer it back to Rupa 28, and we trying to explain that when they create ourselves, we call it Kamashrupa 18, and those 18 consisting of Rupa in 18 Rupa. And these 18 Rupa are under Rupa 28 that you has already been recited. And also Citta Shupa, the 15, Utu Shupa 13, and Ahara Shupa 12. These also refer back to Rupa 28 that we insist that. Well, that's why you need to be able to recite them, and then you can understand Dhamma language. This is the first step. And go back here. For Kamashrupa 18, they need to create your body. Whenever you go in every Bhumi, they create your body, Citta Shupa, for for understand, for to simplify it, is your mind, and Utushupa, your environment, and Aharashupa, your food that you eat. Okay, to simplify it. And for here, as we mentioned before, that Kamashupa creating from the past and not causing kusala or kusala anymore. That's it. And for Chittashrupa 15, Utushupa 13, and Aharashupa 12, they creating from the past, however, for present use, and they can cause kusala or kusala. So the problem will occur by Akamashupa or Chittashrupa, Utushupa, Aharashupa, because they are for present use, they can cause kusala or kusala. However, Kamashupa 18, they create from the past, and that's it. They are not causing kusala or kusala at all. Okay.
But you have to use your body, your Kamasharupa 18 to done kusala thing.
Yes, but
Mhm.
your body is controlled by Chittashrupa, Utushupa, and Aharashupa.
Mhm. So your body have no kusala or akusala, but you use your body as Kamasharupa in order to make Chitta Sharupa work with that, and then you can get kusala or akusala thing.
Yes,
Right.
your body is just body. And
Yeah.
then how the way how you use your body depends on your Chitta Shrupa, Utushupa, and Aharashupa. The way you use it. You can use it for to do kusala one, or
To Sikhaya, like this.
yes, you can use your body to Sikhaya, or you can use your body to party. You can use your body to travel across the world. It depends on you, but your body has already been given.
Mhm.
Then your body cannot cause kusala or kusala anymore. But Chitta Shrupa, Utushupa, Aharashupa, your mind, your environment, and your food that you eat can cause kusala or kusala. It depends on you now. How to use your body that is given from your past.
I hit the mosquito, then the mosquito die. That I don't done kusala or akusala. Is
Caused by
that
Chitta Shrupa, Utushupa, and Aharashupa, nothing involved with I mean, Kamashupa, not the one who caused you to kill that mosquitoes.
it come from your Chitta?
Chitta Shrupa, Utushupa, and Aharashupa that caused you to kill that mosquitoes.
Okay.
It's not your Kamashupa. Your Kamashupa is just your body. Or this one is to for the
It's
beginner.
very difficult to understand, no? But
Yeah.
slowly.
Yes. And
Because you cannot your body cannot done everything by body, but you have to have Chitta Sharupa, Utu Sharupa, and Ahan Sharupa. So your body that can done. Okay.
So at this time we are talking about Chitta Sharupa, right?
Yeah.
Jakku, Pasatharupa, or Jakku, our eyes. Jakku exists here, as we mentioned, that in Pasatharupa 5 is Jakku Pasatharupa, and Jakku Pasatharupa under Kamashupa 18 create from the past and not causing kusala or kusala. Your eyes doesn't cause kusala or kusala, and they exist in genuine Kamashupa. And the first 9, Avinipokarupa 8 and Parichetrupa 1, we call them artificial Kamashupa, because these 9 components, 9 rupa exist in Kamashupa 18, Chittashrupa 15, Utushupa 13, and Aharashupa 12. So here, so your Jakku stays here with Kamashupa 18. And now what if that is the case? What we see in the picture is exists in present, because we said that create from the past, right? It exists in the past. And these are the eyes that we familiar with. They exist in present. We can see our eyes here. I can see Piping's eyes here. I cannot see my own eyes without a mirror. Okay, but I can see Piping's eyes. What we see in the picture exists in present, and I see Piping's eye in present. What really are they then?
In present only.
Yes, And what really are they? If the Jakku exist in the past, create from the past,
but used
yes,
in this life,
yes, that is a bit confused.
Yeah.
Because if you say that this is eyes and Jakku exists in the past, and we see in present, and what are these?
Is this not Jakku, right?
That is one of the things that confuse for the beginners. We call it eyes, we call it Jakku. And later on, we said that this one is not Jakku because Jakku exists in the past, but we stay in the present. And what you see, we see in the present. I see Piping's eye now in the present, not in the past. But your Jakku exists in the past, but now what are they that I see? It seems like your eyes, but what are they really? So next one. Okay. I need to go back that we need to we used to teach that everything creates within in Chitta, in Chavana Chitta. In Chavana Chitta exists of Kamma Chitta 29. Kamma Chitta 29. Kamma Chitta 29 consisting of Akusala Chitta 12, one of Hetuka Kriya Chitta, Kama Vachara Maha Kusala Chitta 8, Rupa Vachara Maha Kusala Chitta 5, Arupa Vachara Maha Kusala Chitta 4. This all together is I'm sorry.
Kamaswana Chitta.
29 is another diagram. Kamajit 29. Kamajit 29 is Kusala Chitta 12, and then Kama Kusala Chitta 8, and Rupa Kusala Chitta 5, Rupa Vajra Mahakusala Chitta 4. This all together is Kamashrupa. Kamashrupa, no.
29.
9. Kamashrupa 29.
No Akusala.
Akusala Chitta 12. Akusala Chitta 12. And when they work, when Kama Chitta 29 works, they send the result of their work to Patisanti Pavanka Chutti Chitta 19. And these 19 Chitta will lead you to born in 31 Bhumi, depends on which Patisanti Pavanka Chutti Chitta works. And then it when they leads you to 31 Bhumi, for example, like Ubekha, Santirana, Akusol Vibhak leads to Abhaya Bhumi 4. Ubekha, Santirana, Ahetuka Akusol Vibhak leads to Manusa Bhumi 1 and Teva Bhumi 1, for example. In Jatu Maharashika and Kama Vajra Maha Vipaka Chitta 8 leads to Teva Bhumi 5, except Jatu Maharashika and Rupa Vajra Maha Kusala Chitta, Rupa Vajra Maha Vipaka Chitta 5 leads to Brahma Bhumi 16, and Arupa Vajra Mahavipaka Chitta 4 leads to Arupa Brahma Bhumi 4. This lead to 31 Bhumi, and whenever they leads, for example, they leads to Manusa, they need to create Kamashrupa, Chitta Shrupa, Utu Shrupa, Ahala Shrupa before you're born. So they need to create your body, your mind, your environment, and your food before you're born as a human. And when you're born as a human, the first that we call it, the first 8 we call Avinipokharupa 8. Avinipokharupa 8 will need to come out, and then from the smallest particle that science know today from quarks, it's expand itself into atom, into elements, into molecules, and into universe, into your solar system, into Earth, into your city, into your food, and things like these are, and your everything surrounds you need to create before you come to born as a human. And those elements are created by Avinipokharupa 8. However, yourself now, whenever we are come to born as a human, we have one special rupa that attached with Avinipokharupa 8, which called Shivita Rupa 1. Shivita Rupa 1 attached with Avinipokharupa 8 and form ourselves as a human. Now, when it formed this way, it means that your eyes and also our body are created by Avinipoka Rupa 8 and Shivita Rupa 1. So the things that we see here are the result of the work of Avinipoka Rupa 8 and Shivita Rupa 1. It's not actually Jakku Pasata Rupa. It's the work of Avinipoka Rupa 8 and Shivita Rupa 1, or or we can call it
Navarupa.
Navarupa 9. Yes, Navarupa 9. Okay, so I stay in the past, present, or future now. Little bit difficult questions. This one, eyes. And where are Jakku? Jakku is here. Jakku Pasata Rupa exists in the past, that create from the past, not causing kusala or kusala. Then the one that we see here, the one that I see, Peeping's eyes exist in the present. And as we mentioned, the Peeping's eyes are Avinipoka Rupa 8 plus Jivita Rupa 1. And Avinipoka Rupa 8, you can see that Avinipoka Rupa 8 are the components under artificial Kamashrupa. That's why when we see these things that we said it's I, we can see it in present because it exists in Chitta Shrupa, Utu Shrupa, and Ahara Shrupa. There are Avinipoka Rupa 8 that exists in Chitta Shrupa, Utu Shrupa, and Ahara Shrupa. However, Jakku Pasata Rupa exists only in Kamashrupa and exists only in the past. So therefore, this one is not Jakku Pasata Rupa because we see them in present. That's a bit confused for the beginner, I know.
Yeah.
You need to you might need to go back and listen to this again and again and again and again, because it's hard to understand. Your eyes exist in present, but your eyes are they are Avinipoka Rupa 8, and you can see it in the present because it is Avinipoka Rupa 8, but those Avinipoka Rupa 8 you can see in the present are the Avinipoka Rupa 8 under Chitta Shrupa, Utu Shrupa, and Ahara Shrupa. There are 8 here, 8 here, and 8 here. And the things you cannot see because it exists in the past, which is Jakku Pasata Rupa. And Jakku Pasata Rupa only exists in the past because they stays in Kamashrupa 18 group. However, whenever they are going to create your next life, or kusala or akusala, Kamashrupa that exists in Chitta Shrupa, Utu Shrupa, Ahara Shrupa needs to go back and work with Kamashrupa to create your kusala or kusala. That is in another next classes that we will discuss about this, because a lot of work
In detail,
that we need to go through. Yes.
More deeper than this, no?
More deeper than this, yes. Yeah. That's why we insist that why you need to recite Chitta, Cetasika, Rupa, and then we will speak the same language, that is Dhamma language. And this is one of the beginning.
And the very Kampira Dhamma, no? That at the first time we see that our eye is Jakku, and now our eye is not Jakku now. Our eye is only Avinipoka Rupa 8 and Jivita Rupa. No, it is this eye that we see, other people's eye, no, but Jakku we cannot see. But where is it? Is this where in this detail for the next card?
Yes.
Okay,
so we speak a lot about past, present, future in previous slide. So I show you a bit more things to think about after this class. Whenever we say past, present, future, they said past is yesterday, what has passed, and present is today or now, and future is yet to come or tomorrow. However, for Manusa table, past, present, future, you need to translate this back into Makta language. Past, Atita, present, Pachupanna, and future is Anakata. And then Atita refer to the teaching of Gautama Buddha. Atita is Avijja Sankhara, and Pachupan is there Vinyana Marupa Salayatana Phassa Vedana Tanha Upadhan Bhop, and Anakata is Chati and Chara Marana. This is translate from communication language in Makatha language and go through the teaching of Gautama Buddha. You see, even the word that we mentioned about the past, present, future in the previous slide also have more Kampira to come, yet to come. Okay, that's why.
All these past, present, and future in Makatha language is Paticca Samutpatha.
Yes, and this is things that we need to show you that there are more Kampira or more to explain to you. That's why we cannot use translation anymore. And in the end, even though you speak Hindi, we speak Thai, we communicate to each other by English. In the end, as we are Buddhism and we Sikha Dhamma, in the end, we will speak the same language, which is Dhamma language. Whenever we mention about Jakku, we will understand the same things. Whenever we mention about Kamma Shrupa 18, we will understand the same thing. Chitta Shrupa 15, Uddha Shrupa 13, Ahara Shrupa 12, we will understand the same thing. We'll speak the same language then.
Yeah.
So, okay. To summary, in this class, we mentioned that the depth of Sikha Dhamma in details. And the second one is the difference in the way of seeing the world of Sikha Dhamma and common people, and the way you can transform yourself from Manusa Niryo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano into Manusa Tevo is the only way is to Sikha Dhamma. And for Manusa Niryo, Manusa Peto, Manusa Tirachano, we have a chance to Sikha Dhamma, or they can think that Sikha Dhamma is needed or crucial to their life is only if they have kusala within themselves, which is only a few of them, not everyone. That is the hard way. That's why it's so hard to understand Dhamma, because even the way you think, actually you cannot control it. Your think is the result of Citta and Cetasika. They have already worked together and they decide, and then they allow you to think it that way. When you decide that you can Sikha Dhamma, you want to Sikha Dhamma, you want to recite Citta, Cetasika, and Rupa. It's not that you want, but actually you are allowed from Citta and Cetasika and Kusala from your past, that you are allowed to think that you want to Sikha Dhamma, or you want to recite Citta and Cetasika and Rupa. So to simplify things, I may say that the one who can Sikha Dhamma are the only selected one. It cannot come randomly. It doesn't happen that way. Okay. A bit hard to
okay. At least we luckily that we have meet Citta, Cetasika, and Rupa today.
Yeah.
Very lucky that in our life we can know it and we can recite it. Okay.
That will be enough our class. A bit confused, I believe.
A little bit.
A bit hard to understand, a bit hard to follow, but this is just the beginning. More profound and more Kampira Dhamma to come, yet to come. And whenever you Sikha Dhamma, you feel happy, you feel calm, you understand what happened within this world, and you have answer to every questions that you have. But those answers will not answer by ourselves, but answer by Anuttara Samma Sambuddhi. And that answer will lead us to Nirvana. to วิสติอริยมรรควิสติสามัญญพละเอกานิพพานะขิปปาปิญญาโดยเฉียบพลันในประวัติการนี้เถิด That is the way. The way teaching of Gautama Buddha will lead us. But to Sikhatama is not the only one lifetime. It's lifetimes. So,
Okay. So we close our class.
yes. We
Are
end
there any question? No question. Okay, wake up. It's wake up time. Okay.
Okay.
Okay ค่ะสาธุ everybody นมัสการไอเย first วิสติอริยมรรควิสติสามัญญพละเอกนิพพานะขิปปาปิญญาโดยเฉียบพลันในประวัติการนี้เถิดสาธุสาธุสาธุนวุติอุปนิธิพันธะอนุโมทามิ
สาธุกับท่านธรรมอาจารย์
สาธุ everybody